My assignment was for students to read the chapter and then post about 2 items within the chapter that they found interesting or something that was new to them. They were then to ask one open-ended question to 2 of their classmates regarding their classmates' post or something within the chapter. My 3 questions that I would like answered are: do the students show evidence of engaging in the material? What is the level of student engagement? And what questions did the students come up with? So within this, it was a discussion board thread. It's over chapter 7. And basically it was to discuss 2 items that they found interesting and that were something you did not know that was presented within chapter 7, and make sure to list what page the information can be located on. Supposed to be 200 words, be original, and then ask 2 questions to their classmates. So we had everybody make their own posts, and down here are the first people that actually posted, and you can see that people are responding, and should at least have 3 responses or 3 posts within each section. And of course the latecomers only have 1, and some actually have a little bit more than 3. And that just happened because of some of the people coming in late. But so we go in here, and so the student here, right, he talks about the quality of service, his ability to control the application priority in the network, and then he talks about traceroute, which is a command, also available, discussed in the chapter. The chapter was about networking, so he found 2 items within the chapter, and he's definitely discussing both of these items in pretty good detail. Then question here is, can the traceroute command be used on Linux? If so, what's the command line for it, and how does it show you the ping when tracing, and is that all it does? And then he responds and shows an example of the traceroute, and so he's, here's the image he ripped off of Google. He's at work because he couldn't actually run the command, but it shows you what the hop looks like in real time. And Linux does a traceroute command, so he definitely answered the question. And then he got asked, what can be determined with the traceroute command, and how do you troubleshoot it? So you use the traceroute command. You go into the command prompt, type the website, and he even gives some example here. We had issues at a branch he was working at, and had problems with one of our buildings being struck by lightning and knocking out one of the switches. So he's giving some real world examples within his answer. So that's exactly the kind of dialogue that I was hoping that we would get in some of these, people being able to bring in the real world experience too. That's just a bonus. Then we'll just go in here. So one of these that is less they haven't responded yet, possibly, or all right, so this one, right, he gives the page numbers, and it talks about the ping command, giving us some of the attributes that the switches that you can use with the ping command. Gives a good example of running the ping command. And then the command netstat is interesting to him. He never used it before, and gives him all the switches and some good information on how to use it. And then the question is, what would happen if you use the A switch with the command? And which command do you want to know if I add the A command? So he's asking him which command instead of just picking one. But it was a good question. So, and then the student hasn't responded back yet. So still some work to go, but and I expect some more of this to come in over this week too. But let's see here, and we'll just pick a couple more here. Let's go in here. This one's got some good dialogue in here. Alright, so she's talking about the image on page 354, how data gets transferred, and the standard, and TCP sends data through the network. The switch connects devices to a computer network, so she's getting some good information about how a network is set up and how it works and how the traffic goes around there. And then she also learned the difference between the version 6 and version 4 of IP addresses. And goes into a little bit about this and the difference between IPv6 is a 120-bit number, whereas IPv4s are a 32-bit number. So we have so many more. So it was a good observation. So then the student here is admitting that, and it is a very heavy, dense chapter. Networking is the core piece surrounding IT, and so in this OS class, this is just an intro, but it's just so much information into networking. It is very dense, so it's going to be hard for a lot of students to be able to gather all the information. But his attention was the DMZ, and he was saying that she was talking about the flow of data in the network, and was wonder what circumstances would you even need to leave your computer completely unprotected to access information. This seems like a lot of risk, more than anything you could possibly gain. And then let's see here. So she did answer that. This question here is that it's really interesting what you said about the Internet Protocol. I would like to know what are the advantages of IPv6, and the IPv6 has many advantages. And so she's definitely answering the students' questions. And then is there anything else about switches that you might think to look into other than learning about the role of the switch? So she answered the two of the three questions that she got. And so I'll probably have to come in here and answer this one, because she may not know. I mean, this is a pretty higher level question about why we have a DMZ and why we would leave machines unprotected. But that's definitely a question I'm going to have to come in here and reply to if she doesn't reply to by the end of this week. And then we'll go in here and pick another one with very few responses, just a couple. So Jesus is types of networks and network connections, on the page numbers, creating a dial-up connection on the page numbers. So definitely discussing this topic in depth with some information. And then he even puts in some experience of using a dial-up connection when he was like 5 years old. And so that's good to see when they can bring in some real-world experience. I do love to see that. And so then he's gotten 2 questions, but he has not replied to the questions yet. And then particular types of devices that connect to PAN? Also, do you know if the Philippines had advanced in their internet connection capability? So great questions that should spur some conversation. So we'll see. And then, can you provide some information on what types of devices would connect to the different network connections? So kind of a generic question, but it still should spur some dialogue. So we'll see. Yeah, he did just post this a couple days ago, and so they are a little late in responding, because this actually should have all been posted, over the weekend. It should have been done actually. Yeah. So the weekend, and so this is Wednesday. So yeah, they should have had all the responses in by Sunday. So they were a little late. They posted on Monday, so that's, we'll see if this will get a little bit further dialogue as it goes. And then we'll go with we'll go with one more here. Yeah, we'll just. All right. Got the administrator command, and page 367, right? And it's just a small blurb, but it is a pretty important piece, having a higher level of access at the command line. And then netstat, so that was a good observation. Netstat, page 368, you can actually use it with the listed above command, right? So, and it looks like a base command for options, giving this some switches and how to save off some of the information to a text file, which is a really good observation. Then the question is, how would you go about determining if you had malware on your network with the -B switch? And then he shows that he understands that red allows you to see what programs are running using your network connections. So I'm assuming when you look at the list and see a program running that you don't recognize and don't open it yourself, it would probably be malicious, which is a great observation. It is exactly correct. What are steps to enable administrator privileges to the command prompt in Windows 10? And then I'm sure there are other ways to accomplish it, but the one I put in my post just said that when you launch a new prompt in the task manager window, you check a box to enable admin privileges, right? And so I'll have to reply on at least another way too, but very decent responses. So we did have several that have only just posted, and there's been no response, but all of these were definitely, like I say, on Monday. And so, the fact that even some of those on Monday got some responses, it's good, even though the assignment was due Sunday. But let's see here. I guess we'll give you just one more to compare and get some feedback on. So she's talking about bandwidth, data throughput on page 323, creating a VPN connection, page 332, and talk about the data throughput and how the average speeds and how it's calculated and measured, and the VPN, how it's set up the connection, so didn't know it was also set up in the operating system, which was a good observation. Are VPNs safe to use, or will one get hacked? Yes, from what she learned, it would be this, that they are safe to use and use encryption and IP masking to maintain security, but wouldn't say they can ever be hacked, which it's good observation too. But the big VPN provider, NordVPN, was breached a couple years ago because of undisclosed remote management system left by a worker. So brought in some information they learned in the real world, so that's awesome. I was wondering, when choosing a device for high performance, I need to consider the bandwidth of the frequency, and where do you believe VPNs are the mostly used? One situation VPN would be used would be in the areas of the world where the internet is regulated and limited by the government. North Korea is a well-known instance where the government is in control of the internet. Other situations would be gaming, streaming from other countries to maintain privacy. So great answer to the question. So that was the assignment, and overall, most students seem to have engaged in answering some good questions, and overall, so far, it looks to me that they answered good. There's a couple here that I'll have to go through to make sure that I get answers out there, because they may have been, like the one, just maybe a little too high level of a question for the student to answer. But overall, the ones that did get the assignment in on time definitely seem to have had some dialogue, whereas then you had about a third of the class here that was actually late in turning in the assignment. But it looks like maybe over time that we'll get some responses from them as well. So that was the assignment. I appreciate your assistance in looking and reviewing and observing this, and I look forward to your feedback. Thank you.